You know what they say, it's important to be comfortable in your own skin. Well, imagine then having a condition that makes that impossible and in fact leaves you in a constant state of jeopardy. Now imagine dealing with this when you're only 5. That's what Tatum Blackwell faces every day. She suffers from a disorder that is as startling as it is rare. It leaves her parents struggling to protect her and yet still expose her to a normal life. Here's Aaron Salzman with Untouchable.
So what do you have here? You made Tatum's place.
From a distance, she looks like any other little girl. But as 5-year-old Tatum Blackwell writes the menu for her make-believe restaurant, take a closer look at her hands. They're covered in raw, open wounds. She looks as though she's been scalded or burned. But this was no accident. It's congenital.
Tatum's condition is very rare, genetic skin disease that causes her skin to blister very easily, blister or tear off.
And you can get your food from there.
Anything more than a light touch can literally tear her skin off. A rub, a hug, a stumble.
We were walking in the park, I was holding her hand, and she just stumbled. Again, little stumble, and as a normal reaction, she was 3 at the time, would be you're holding the hand, you jerk up a little bit because you don't want her to fall. And she just started screaming, and I opened my hand and looked, and she had basically the entire tissue of both her and fingers just torn apart.
The disorder is called Epidermolysis Bullosa, or EB. Human skin consists of 2 layers, the dermis and the epidermis. People with EB are missing the anchors that tie those 2 layers together. Without those anchors, any little bit of friction can cause the skin to blister or even rub off. Think of grass without the roots, or Velcro without the hooks. According to an American study, there are about 50 EB cases for every 1 million births. Extrapolating for Canada, that means there are only about 1,600 people with EB in this country. Even fewer have a severe form of EB. Dr. Elena Pope is Tatum Blackwell's doctor. She is also one of the few specialists in the field.
For the very severe forms of the disease, you are like a burn victim pretty much your entire life.
For people with EB, just pulling on shoes or socks can cause the equivalent of 2nd or even 3rd degree burns. In the most severe cases, simply swallowing can cause blistering in the esophagus. It is a painful and often short life. Infections and an increased susceptibility to a type of skin cancer mean people with EB rarely live beyond their 20s.
Unfortunately, there is no cure for this condition. The only thing we can offer is to try to prevent as much as possible the blisters from occurring.
For the Blackwells, that means there's no such thing as being overprotective. No bicycles in this house. Tatum buzzes around on 4 wheels, dutifully doing up her seatbelt without fail. The Blackwells used to live in an older home. They moved to this subdivision because the newer house has fewer potential hazards. Then they renovated.
One of the things my husband and I have worked very hard at doing over the years here is, make the surfaces as friendly to her as possible. Being the extra padding underneath the carpeting, the outdoors that used to be all gravel, to make a more level. I know I can't just put her in a bubble, as some people have said. You can't put her in a bubble. If there was a big enough one, I'd probably put her in there.
Without that big bubble, Tatum gets hurt every day and needs treatment every day. Bandages alone cost the family upwards of $12,000 per year. They also have to buy expensive nutritional supplements. None of it is covered by health insurance. It's a strain. That's where this woman comes in.
Fundraising is a real challenge.
Gina Brummett-Grishovnik works with an EB advocacy group, a difficult job when so few people have even heard of the disease. This fall, her group and others like it will be holding a fundraising relay and rallies across the United States. The events coincide with National EB Awareness Week in the U.S. They would also like to see something similar in Canada. Awareness, they say, the key objective.
We need awareness because a lot of the time when a little child like Tatum is out playing, the parents will pull their children away because they think that this is a contagious illness and that type of thing. So while funding is important, awareness is very important to also.
The fact is, for all her fragility, Tatum Blackwell can do many of the same activities other kids do. She just has to be far more careful. Bouncing on the trampoline, they've recently learned, is okay. Backflips are not. The next test comes next month. Tatum goes to school for the first time, mixing with a whole new group of people who know little or nothing about her condition. The school has assigned Tatum an educational assistant.
I call it her bodyguard. She'll need that help going in and out of the school for recess, even maneuvering throughout the classroom, even sitting in circle time. I mean, to have a hand laid out where another child might step on it could be horrible for her.
It will be a delicate balance, trying to make sure everyone around Tatum is aware of her condition, while at the same time trying as much as possible to allow Tatum to live a normal life. A challenge, but then nothing compared to what this little girl and this family have been through already. Aaron Saltzman, CBC News, St. Thomas, Ontario.
We have to take a short break now. We'll have this story when we come back.